welcome in. It is Jolly Ollie YouTube. Jolly Ollie, welcome in. Can I call you Ollie? Is that all right?
Yes, that's fine.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us. Are you well, first and foremost?
I am, thanks.
Good. Looking forward to this Saturday's game. Obviously, is it your second home game of the season? I believe it is.
Yeah, well, obviously after the performance that we put in against relegated side Leicester City, then I am quite hopeful coming into this game against Ipswich. I haven't seen too much of your performances so far this season. I've just seen that you've picked up a couple of 1-1 draws, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yes,
probably best that you haven't.
Yeah, that's probably true. So you come in the back of it, obviously after beating Leicester 2-1, you drew on opening day with QPR. How are things down your way at Preston at the moment? Because obviously coming into the season, what were your expectations? And having seen those first 180 minutes, where are you now in terms of the expectations? Do you want to change those slightly, or do you think you were right in the summer?
Well, yeah, obviously we've not got much to go off, seeing that we've only played 2 games of the new season. Last season we were lucky to survive on the final day. But I'm hoping for an improvement. I know we're one of the favourites to get relegated this season, which I find ridiculous because we are like the definition of a mid-table championship club. So I think we'll improve on last season back to our mid-table status. I think we're going to see an improvement because this is Paul Heckingbottom's first season in charge. Of course, he did come in quite early on after Ryan Lowe left us after one game of the season last season, but it's been his first pre-season, his first summer window, and well, on last weekend, it was one of the best performances I've seen at Deepdale in a long time. After a pretty flat performance against Barrow in the first round of the cup, we really did show up last weekend, and obviously, it is just the one game so far, and as one home game so far. As I say, we're new into the season. But if last week's trend can continue week in, week out, then it'll be a massive improvement on last season, where we did pick up too many draws. That is why we saw ourselves at the bottom of the table. And I know it's one of the commonly used phrases in football that turn those draws into wins, but that is literally what we had to do. And I think this season, as I said, under Paul Heckingbottom, we are going to see an improvement of that this season.
Yeah, and we've got a question in the chat for you already from Dominic Dean. How do you rate Heckingbottom over Lowe?
Well, over Lowe, big improvement. So I'll by miles, for me, he's miles better than Ryan Lowe. In terms of the championship, I'll probably put him in the top 10 managers in the championship. Of course, he did get Sheffield United promoted to the Premier League a couple of seasons ago after they had got relegated under Wilder and was struggling a little bit. But of course, with a top team like that, you already inherit top players. So it will be interesting to see what he can do at a club with a club like Preston. But yeah, I'll say he's top 10 in the championship for me, but 100% way better than Ryan Lowe.
All right, talk to us about Preston then, Ollie. How do you set up? What style of play do you come into the game with? Just tell us a bit about Preston at the moment under Heckingbottom.
Well, we play with a wing-back formation, and that is a key part of how we play. We play down those wide sides. Last season it was a bit too defensive, and he's already said it in one of his interviews this season that he's going to start attacking more, because if as we were drawing so many games last season, he said is a new thing this season that if we're drawing with like 20 minutes to go, he would rather risk going for all 3 points, even if it means that they lose just the one, because again, just turning those draws into wins. So I think that's what we saw against Leicester City, where I before the game I would have taken a point. So when we scored that first goal, I thought, this is great. We can just somehow just hold off and by some miracle snatch and grab against Leicester. But we kept, like, when we scored that goal, we kept on going for it, and not just sitting back and created more chances and tried to extend our lead, which surprised me a bit, but it was great to see. So definitely a key part of that is down the wides, both right and the left, with the wing backs playing a key role.
Yeah, Rob's doing my job for me in the chat. Love to see it, Rob. He says, question, it's early doors, but what players should Town be wary of this Saturday?
Managed, got to be.
Well, yeah, it's our striker Osmajic. He scored 2 goals in 2 games so far this season. Thierry Small, down the wing, he can play both on the right and the left. He's against QPR, he was on the right hand side. Against Leicester, he was on the left. We brought him in from Charlton, who got promoted from League One last season, and he played a lot down the right hand side for them. But against Leicester, he looked really good on the left compared to QPR, where he played on the right. So I would like to see him on the left more than the right. Another player to look out for is defensive midfielder Ali McCann. Really strong tackler of the ball. He covers all areas of that midfield. And of course, signing of the season for me, Daniel Leverson, our goalkeeper, who was on loan at us last season. Not last season, sorry, a few years back. But we brought him in permanently now. And I think it was a massive mistake for Leicester to let him go, especially after that. Stolarczyk, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the Leicester keeper. For me, he made a massive mistake to come out of his goal for our first goal that we scored just last weekend. Still a lot to do for Alfie Devine from a tight angle, but he still manages to find the finish, and he takes his goal well.
Yeah. Any questions before we go to score predictions?
Yeah, just a quick question for you, Ollie. For me, watching Preston from an outsider's point of view, I know I've got a couple of people that I know as Preston fans, and I've seen sort of Preston, certainly when we was in the Championship for 15, 16 plus years last time, that Preston are a great Championship club, well backed, all of that sort of stuff. But I feel like you've sort of stagnated over the years. And it also reminds me of when we had Marcus Evans here, where it was a case that we weren't really going anywhere other than probably down. And I guess that sort of felt like that last season. But do you feel that this season is a bit more? There's a bit more hope there, obviously after the Leicester game, obviously. But going into this new season, where do you see Preston moving forward this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's going to be an improvement this season. I think that we'll get back up to mid-table. Obviously, the hope is always to push on for the playoffs, and which is where Preston was under Alex Neil about 5 years ago. Of course, then it was the COVID season where I think it was a mistake to let Alex Neil go. I don't like letting managers go willy-nilly like Watford do. And we got in Frankie McAvoy, who he didn't have any experience at managing level, especially in the Championship. I think he's like in non-league now with a local team close to Preston, but in like the National League. Then obviously Ryan Lowe was an improvement on Frankie McAvoy. He did bring in some fresh air into the club, but only for one season, where then in his second season he just lost it. I think he just went out of his depth. I think you could tell in his interviews that he lost interest himself, which obviously would transfer onto the players as well. So Heckingbottom, I think, as I said earlier, big improvement on Ryan Lowe. So I think we are going to see ourselves going upwards rather than downwards. But if we do get relegated, that would be a big shame if the bookies' predictions do come true. But I think we'll be clear of that.
Yeah, I like Heckingbottom. I think, as you say, like he got promoted with Sheffield United. Certainly I would say I agree with your sentiment earlier, where he's probably in the top 10 managers in the Championship. I've kind of got you down as a sort of a dark horse this year. I always think there's a team that come out from nowhere, even if they're relegation kind of candidates at the start of the season. I always think there's a team that comes out of nowhere to sort of join that pack of the top 6 potentially, or sort of going towards it. You've only got to look at Sunderland last year for that as well. So, can you see yourself being that kind of dark horse moving forward for Preston?
Yeah. Well, I'd hope so. it's hard really to comment on your own team. Of course, I'm always hoping for the best, but it is reassuring to see other fans from other teams having us to like prove the bookies wrong and to have a shock season.
All right, score prediction time then, fellas. Let's jump to it. So I want your score predictions for this weekend's game, Preston versus I've lost him. Ipswich. I'll start with the guest, Jolly Ollie. Before you do go tell us your score prediction, where can people find you and your content?
Well, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter with just what my name is at my tag at Jolly Ollie YT. Yeah.
Excellent. And your score prediction, surprise me by saying Town win. Go on.
Well, for my score prediction, I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Oh, okay.
Just like I said, for the Leicester game, I would have taken a draw before the game against an ex-Premier League side. But considering the performance from like the three centre halves, Story, Gibson, Hughes, they put in a strong performance. As I've already mentioned, the wing backs and Michael Smith, actually, who we got off Sheffield Wednesday, who's about 33, 34 years old. A lot of fans, weren't happy with bringing him in as a striking option, obviously considering his age. But as him working with Osmajic, he's actually just against Leicester. He put in a top performance. He's a big target man. He'll hold up the ball well, and the pair of them up top, the combination works well with Osmajic running in behind. So yeah, I do have some hope for against Ipswich. Obviously, as I said, considering that you've not managed to pick up a win yet this season, a couple of 1-1 draws. But as I said, I don't know how you have performed in those games. But yeah, I think a draw would be maybe a fair result for both sides here.
Okay, so 1-1 says Jolly Ollie YT. That's where you can find him. Well, don't forget, you can check out Ollie's stuff at Jolly Ollie at YT. Ollie, thanks for joining us this evening. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
All the best. Take care. Good luck.